Okay, so a couple mornings ago, I was having this dream that somebody was talking to me. It's like, I can't really remember any of the conversation or anything, but the word that stood out the most was legacy, and it keeps appearing here lately. So I think there's a message there, and I'm starting to process through what that is. But I was, it was a really weird sensation because it was like I was talking to somebody and it was about this idea of legacy. And then it's like there was this pause and I was suddenly aware that my dogs were getting ready to start barking, and then they did, which woke me up. And then I looked at the clock and it's 4:44 because of course it is. That's how things go in my life these days. So I went ahead and fed the dogs, and of course just, that word just kept staying with me. And of course it's something that's come up quite a bit lately because I was watching, okay, that's whole nother thing too. Okay, we're gonna try to stay focused. The other day I realized I hadn't finished the Scream movies. There was a set over at the library where they had like the 6 that are currently out in one DVD case, and I had gotten it before, and I watched the first one, and then when I was in the middle of watching the second one, I was still cleaning my room, right? So I still had my DVD player in my room and was cleaning in there, and I remember pausing the video and setting the remote down, and then I went into the other room for a minute. When I came back in the room, I couldn't find the remote. So it was like, I don't even remember exactly what was going on in that time frame, but I remember something happened where I said to myself, or my higher intuition, whatever you want to call it, that if I have to walk away from my family completely in order to get where I'm meant to be, I will do it. It's like, I'm just at that point. I'm ready to get where I'm meant to be, and my family is largely the thing that keeps holding me back, right? So that was, okay, I don't think I even told all of that story. I lost the remote when I got back, and then as I was looking for it, I had that thought come to mind. And then I found it in this really obscure place that I'm not sure that it could have made it down there without me putting it down there, but I don't remember putting it down there. And it was under my dresser, but it was on a bunch of stuff. And it wasn't, it was like it had been set on the stuff. It didn't just fall on the floor and bounce there. It was one of those things. It's like there's enough stuff down here that the only way this could have been put here is to have been placed here, because if it would have fallen, then it wouldn't have been that far back and that straight forward. But anyway, so I make this statement and then I find it, and it was just like the universe was saying, yes, this is the right path, right? So anyway, going back to the legacy word, right? So since I realized I didn't finish the movies the other day, I've been watching those lately. And they talk a lot about legacy as far as people from the movies before that weren't killed off, and they lived to make it to the next movie or next couple of movies or whatever. So they're like the legacy players or whatever. And so the word has been there. Didn't really think anything of it because it's in the movie. Although it did kind of get my attention a little bit, because they say it a lot, or they have said it a lot in the time that I was watching it. But mind you, I was watching 1 or 2 movies every day for a few days in a row. So it kept coming up, so it was there, right? But then I heard it in a tarot reading this morning. There's actually the fucking movie theater that is closest to my house is called Legacy as well. So, but so I've driven past that. I can't even tell you how many times, and never thought anything of it then. But obviously, right now, there's something going on where it's coming up, and it's something to be aware of, right? So, the other part of that was, before I went to bed that night, I was in a really good mood. And, just kind of letting my mind wander and go where it goes, because it's really kind of interesting to me to see what kind of visions and dreams I have that come to mind when I just let my mind wander these days. Whereas before I'd done like any of the healing work that I've been working on through this whole process, I always went to the negative stuff. But now it's like, ooh, this is kind of interesting. What's happening? Where are we going? Who are we interacting with in these other spaces? So the thing that also came up, and I'm pretty sure it was that night, not last night, was I saw myself hanging out with the new friend group that I haven't made it to yet, because we just haven't got to that point yet. But I saw myself in this space with all these people, and randomly going through and shaking the hand of, like the men in the group and saying, "Congratulations on your penis." And it was just this whole silly thing in my head. But then what I've been thinking about comes back to that point of legacy, right? Because, okay, so I also watched yesterday, I think there was yesterday or the day before. Okay, I've started following this page on Facebook. It's called PottyMouthPollyanna. And she had this video of some some standard douchey white dude running his mouth about how women should be grateful to have the easy life where they don't have to go to school and they don't have to work and they don't have to do these things. They don't need friends. They just need to be grateful to the man that they end up marrying and provide him with children. It's an easy life and all this bullshit. And it's just like, okay. But of course she went off on the dude, and that she was, that was the point of the video, was to make fun of him, because he clearly knows nothing about parenting if he thinks it's easy, especially if you're made to do it by yourself. But, and I made a comment on the video because, somebody said something about, I don't even know. Anyway, that's a whole nother, I'm not trying to wander that path. Wandering back. So, and it just came up with this little silly thing where my mind wandered to about just, going through and shaking the hand of all these different men that I'm eventually friends with, and just congratulating on them on their penis and on having one, right? That's like the whole thing. And of course, I'm laughing and thinking it's hilarious, and they're laughing because what the fuck? But then what I was thinking was, like, okay, coming back to my grandfather, and when my mom had an appointment and the other aunt was working and the middle sister was going over there because my grandfather, who was at home and confined to the hospital bed at that point in time, had peed all over the place and she needed help moving him so she could get it cleaned up. And I had been minimally helpful in the stuff with him being home. It's like, that goes to my mom and her sisters and my grandmother. That was their thing, right? It's like, I don't want any part of this. And of course, this is after I woke up having that conversation with him in my head of, I have spent 33 years of my life mourning your death, and you're not dead. I will not mourn your death anymore. Right? So when I stopped doing that and I stopped being readily available for the family anytime anything happened, then of course my aunt calls me in because she needs help moving him, and my grandma couldn't do it, and it's just like, all right, whatever. But he was being a dick the entire time that we were in there. And my aunt is trying to comfort him by saying, she's just like, we've both been married and blah, blah, blah. Like, this is supposed to, be the reassuring thing on his fucking dick's not, like, going, I don't know. Like, it's okay. We've had this experience. We've been around them before. My aunt was a fucking nurse for 30 years. But she's, kind of coddling him in this moment but yet he's being a dick while we're trying to help him. And it's like, I wanted nothing to do with any of it. The extent of my being there was shoving him one way or the other so my aunt could do whatever she needed to do. But he was being a dick, like he had something special that we weren't supposed to know about. And I just looked at him, I said, nobody cares about your shit. And he was just like so completely dumbfounded. But then I've been thinking about that in light of this other thing. It's like, and the video of the dude that was going on about how, how easy of life women have if we just give men all of our rights and just, bow down to everything they fucking want. It's like, but what's your legacy? That you have a dick? Congratulations, nobody fucking cares. Right? A good chunk of the population in the world has one. So it's not like it's some like super special thing and you just can't find them just anywhere, right? So it's like just this whole point. But it's like, when I was thinking about my grandfather, it's like, what did he offer to the world? He wanted the illusion of the big happy family, but he didn't have the big happy family. And he was so busy worrying about keeping the illusion alive that he never really did anything worthwhile, right? He was in this town for a whole lot of years. Then he and my grandmother got transferred out to Oklahoma with a job for several years, and then he moved back. He never did anything, right? He was content to, have the wife that was content with not doing anything and not having any kind of excitement in her existence, just she existed to take care of him, right? Like that he was okay with that. And she agreed to that because she never did anything to change it. So, you can claim it worked for them, but if you are looking at happiness as a means of measuring how well that worked out, they're not. They never were. Right? Like I have no interest in spending time around my grandmother because she is one of the most miserable people that I know. And I don't want to be drugged back into that, right? So going back to that piece of time around family drags me down and makes me like have a really hard time getting to this state where I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing and enjoying my life a little more, right? My family doesn't want that. Like, I was not raised to be this kind of person. And you can tell when they don't like me because they can't get to me. And it's pretty standard these days. It's always been there. They've never really liked me. But they were at least content with themselves when they were able to pull me into their misery. But now that they can't do that, and I have other things that I'm, looking forward to in life, like particularly the part where I'm no longer having to deal with them, it pisses them off. It does. So, I mentioned the other day, actually, did I mention? I know yesterday I didn't do a video. Excuse me. And I wanted to, so I was really irritated that I didn't. But, family. So, I think I did say it in the previous video. My mother and I had a conversation the other night. Yeah, pretty sure. Okay. So, we had this conversation the other night. She was blowing leaves away from the house with the leaf blower when I got home from walking the dogs that day. And she just says, this needs to happen in the backyard. And I said, okay, I said, I'm going to go skate. And because I didn't take the damn leaf blower from her and go do what she was insinuating it was up to me to do, which was go and get rid of these, blow these leaves out of the way, she got pissy, right? Because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, what I had been trained to do, which was just yield because it needs to be done. I'm the child. So, therefore, she said it's supposed to be done. I'm supposed to do it. Period. No. She didn't ask me to do it, for one thing. She just said it needs to be done. So, first off, I'm not just reading your... I'm not just, reading what's in between the lines anymore. It's like, I can tell it's there and I don't give a shit. That's not what I want to do in this moment. It's nice. I'm going to go skate. So I went and skated. And she got pissed. And her follow-up was, I think there was a hateful sigh in there as well. But she said, Tim's coming over tomorrow and I would appreciate it if you would schedule it in to help for some time, or for a while. I was just like, maybe, no, not likely. I just shrugged and walked off and went and got my skates to leave. But yeah, so there was that whole thing. So I did not respond to any of that how she expected that I should. Now, what I did do was come over here, do my video, and talk about how that whole student loan thing and how I'm finally at the point now where, granted, I have paid thousands of dollars on these damn student loans for my undergrad stuff, right? And it's still not paid off, right? And I graduated, as of May, it'll be 20 years ago, and I'm still paying on them. So, and these are, undergrad. And again, when I went to undergrad, I didn't have an option not to. It was her life's biggest regret that she hadn't gone to college after high school. And so because she regretted it, me and my brother didn't have the option. Didn't matter that we didn't know anything about ourselves or who we were or what we wanted from life or what we, might possibly want to do otherwise. That was just what we were told we had to do, right? So, and I've talked about this on here a bunch, right? So my brother goes and he went to college downtown. He went to IUPUI and, he stayed at home, had a job, and was working to pay or to keep it so he didn't have to get a whole bunch of student loans. So that was something that worked out for him well, right? The thing that didn't was he didn't know what he wanted from life or what he wanted to do with school. So he changed his major every single semester and finally, after 4 years, dropped out and joined the Air Force. So it's like, didn't get anything. Like, he didn't get a degree from that or anything. Now, I like that he worked and, didn't have to take out all the loans that I did. But when it came to me, it's like, there is no way in hell I'm going to be able to continue living with my mother. Because at that point, I was like, a lot more of this mindset with realizing, it was basically the point where she was involved in all of my shit. It's like she was always just living vicariously through me. And it was just a pain in the ass. It's like I couldn't make a decision for myself without her in the middle of it, right? So then I do the drumline stuff, marching band. I was all excited to get into that in my 8th grade year. And then that was the thing that I loved doing in high school. But then, we got the drumline group, the winter percussion that started my sophomore year. And that was even better. I don't know at what point my mom took over the band booster president bullshit. I don't remember if she didn't start in a lesser role or before going into the president role. I don't know those details. But I know once she got involved as the president, she was very deeply involved in everything, right? I'm wanting to say the I don't know if it was the board or if just the president. Anyway, I'm confident she was the president of the band boosters my junior and senior years. And I say that because she was a key person in getting to select the next band director. So the summer after sophomore year, we were getting ready to start, like getting ready to go into the band season, and found out our band director that everybody loved just abruptly quit. And so then, band season's getting ready to start, and then there's this push to try to figure out, try to get a new one hired and all this crap. And she was very involved in that whole process. And she came to me one day and says, I think we picked somebody that you'll really like, and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't like that dude at all. Like, he was right out of school, I think, had just gotten his degree and all that stuff. And it was kind of like a joke, honestly. A bunch of us made fun of him a lot. I mean, he was still our band director, and we still did what we had to do, and it was okay. But at the same time, nobody took him seriously, right? He was, straight out of college, and we had a band director that everybody knew and loved, and then he just abruptly left us. So to have this new guy come in, we weren't really warm and welcoming. But yeah, my mom was just bragging about this decision, and then I met him, and it's like, yeah, no. Great, congratulations on selecting that. But there too, I think a part of it was because he was young enough, she could influence whatever, what needed to be done. She could say things and get her way quite a bit, that whole narcissistic piece where you kind of manipulate people. Yeah, she's all about that, right? That was her thing. And that was probably a big part of what I didn't like about him, honestly, was because I knew she could play that dude. And yeah. And then there was also the fact that he was like, okay, it had nothing to do with the fact that he was like a foot taller or a foot shorter than his wife. But they had this little Pomeranian that they had declawed. And it's like, I'm surprised you found a vet willing to do that for a dog, because of course, they would do it more willingly on cats back then, but dogs. But they had a little Pomeranian. They got declawed because if he was going to jump up on them, they didn't want to get scratched up. Okay. Anyway, so, I mean, I've carried that feeling ever since. It was just, I had never in my life heard of somebody getting a dog declawed until then. And that was part of it, because you can't just teach them not to jump on you, right? I mean, my dogs can be a pain in the butt at times, but like the one big thing about them is if I'm not slowing down to greet them and inviting them up, I don't want them jumping up on me. And I don't try to encourage them jumping up on anybody because it's a pain in the butt. And because for older people, I don't want them just knocking them over, because then, odds are it's going to fall on me to have to help pick them back up, right? So, no thank you. But it's like you can train dogs to do things or not do things if you work with them enough. The other problem with this house is, there's somebody always there to sabotage your efforts, right? So when I was in Alabama and I would be cooking, they were not allowed on the laminate flooring. They had, if I was using the stove, I did not want to take a chance on them tripping me or me dropping something scalding hot on them. So they were very good with staying over on the carpet and just watching, and we got along great that way. And now Ziva, my mom, nobody can be in the kitchen without that dog being right there and I think I was trying to take like 2 steps yesterday or a couple days ago and tripped over like 3 times just in the process of taking 2 steps. It's like, this did not ever used to happen because, they were able to stay somewhere else. Right. But then like, too, like they weren't bad about begging because I wasn't giving them something every single time I ate. And, like even now, like, okay, if I get a breakfast bowl and I go and eat in my office and, I talk about them way more than I'm eating them anymore. But since it was something that I was doing there for a while, they would sit there and wait on me and know that as soon as I was done, then I would let them lick the bowl, right? Get the gravy or whatever on the fork and let Gidge lick the fork while the other 2 are sharing the bowl. We've always done it that kind of way, right? Where they stay out of my way while I'm eating, and then I will share after. But my dad's just like handing stuff all over the place, so it's like they don't. There is the possibility that they're gonna get something, so they're gonna be in there and they're gonna be like up your ass the whole time. It's like, so my dogs were so much better behaved before we had to move back into the space, but. Since they're actively sabotaging anything that I've tried to do anyway, there's not really a whole lot of point in trying to, I guess, continue it. My nail snagged. Anyway. Just wandered back, I thought back to, where I started this with the congratulations on your penis bed. It's like, did I ever finish all of that? Or did I just wander completely off and lose it again? And that's a good question. Maybe I'll figure it out. I don't know. Okay. This is something that I've thought about a lot that I've wanted to talk about on here, but I haven't done it yet. So, now's our opportunity. So, I was thinking about that little privilege piece, right? So keeping in mind that my mother was, she was the Band Boosters president and all this stuff, which was essentially, she wasn't doing it for me. She was trying to be the hero, right? And that was have everybody think of her so wonderfully or whatever. And I saw they were bullshit. And didn't really appreciate that she was trying to do everything, like the drumline thing when it came down to that, the Winter Garden Internationals Championship that we won, and the first thing out of her mouth was, "I deserve this as much as you do." It's like, that is what it was always about. She always wanted the opportunity to be like, it kind of slapped me down into my place and ha ha ha, I am so wonderful and you are shit. That she was always that person. But, didn't always necessarily see it as much until something like that is right in your face and you have no other choice but to see it, right? Because it's right there. Okay, so this other thing that happened. I've talked on here a lot about how when I was in high school, I would always get to the point, I would get so frustrated with school because it's like, I know I am smart enough to figure this shit out. But then when it came to actually keeping up in classes and everything, it's like I would hit this point where I just couldn't do it. And then I was just like, just kind of lost in like the suicidal ideation and, not being able to concentrate on anything. And of course, I'm pretty sure that I was picking up on the telepathic stuff in middle school and high school a whole lot, and that was a big part of it. Because it's like, I would hear things that would seem like they were being whispered in the hallway, like people talking behind your back kind of a thing. But then there weren't actually those people weren't right there where I should have been able to hear that, right? It's like they were far enough away that it's like, how am I hearing this so clearly when they're not right there? Anyway, the biggest thing was, like with everything going on around me, I could never focus on school. So it's like I would set the intention every single school year. It's like, I know I can do this. I'm going to do this. And then I could not do this, right? And then, so my grades in like high school especially, where I was B average, but, definitely prone to C's. But, it's like not terrible or anything. When it came to graduation, I think I was like 2 points away from being able to graduate with honors. And I didn't care, right? Because for me, I was having the struggle with school for whatever reason, so it's like I hadn't got it, so that was fine. But my mom starts talking, and she's, talking about how, well, if you graduate with honors, then, you be more likely to get all these scholarships and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, she sweet talked the secretary of the school. And wouldn't you know it, I graduated with honors. It never meant anything to me because it wasn't true, right? Because when it came to actually focusing on the schoolwork and doing well consistently on the schoolwork, I was struggling on that end because for whatever reason, whatever was going on with me at this energetic level and emotionally and all this stuff, it's like I could not put forth the focused effort to make it happen, right? So that was on me. I was okay with that. She was not okay with that because I might be able to get a better scholarship or whatever. So she sweet talked the secretary and I graduated with honors. Didn't deserve it, so it's like, I don't want it. And then the whole point on, excuse me, it just, I've been spending a lot of time thinking on that end of things because it's like I've never appreciated that she did that for me. That was never a good thing. And, I remember her making a big deal about how I wasn't supposed to say anything about it because the secretary could get fired. It's like, if the secretary could be getting fired for doing something like this, why are you asking her to do it? So I had that big issue, but then also just the fact that I didn't deserve it because I hadn't done it, right? So I always resented that, right? But it's one of those things that because of who she was in the school and that she knew everybody because she was manager of the high school cafeteria, so she got to talk to everybody. She was able to talk this person into it. It's like, I don't want it. And then I didn't do anything hardly with it. I think I got like 2 little scholarships for like $100 or something. And that was all I even put in for. I mean, I put more in for more my freshman year. But then, when this thing happens and it's like, I know I don't deserve this and I never should have had this and had access to this over somebody that actually was able to do the school work better and, have it. I don't want to be in that space. Just because you somehow did me a favor, I don't want that kind of sketchy ass favor where you're not ever supposed to talk about it. If you're not supposed to talk about it in that way, it's probably because you didn't really deserve it and you don't need to have it. Right? So, yeah. But that was just always one of those things that I really regretted and really resented, resented, because she was doing me a favor. But it wasn't a favor, right? It was a burden because there's this thing that happened that you're not supposed to talk about because you could get somebody in trouble. Well, they never should have been asked to do the thing that could have got them in trouble in that case because, yeah. But I think that's just an example of one of those lack of boundary things, and for whatever reason, that thing that my mom's able to do where she can make people think that she's so nice and so helpful and all these things. But then it's really a manipulation tactic to get you to do what she wants. right? So my brother and I were having this conversation the other day because when he and Gracie went to Oklahoma, now keeping in mind this was the end of July, he drove the moving truck, his wife was already out there working, and I drove the my mom's car with Gracie and their 2 dogs, and Ziva went with me, right, my little co-pilot. So we went on this road trip, right? And of course, when we were getting ready to pull out of the driveway for the last time, that was rough. Gracie, she was slow on making friends, and she did not make any friends until like last year. And then she had 2 really good friends, and since most of the stuff was in the summer, they were having sleepovers right and left. One of Gracie's good friends was a biracial student who got picked on a lot because, okay, while this town is more diverse than it ever was before, it's still not a whole lot more welcoming than it was when I was going through there, right? Because back when I was in high school, there was I knew of 3 students. There were 3 black students in the school system, but I only knew of them because they lived down the road a little bit from our house. And, I think I occasionally rode the bus with them, but I didn't know them. They were a lot younger than me. So I just didn't know them. But they were adopted, right? So back then, that was it. Now there's the neighborhood that my brother lived in, it's got a pretty strong Indian population in it. Or Sikh or whatever. I don't know all those details. But I appreciate the fact that there's actually diversity now, right? And yet my brother's neighborhood, there were some really cool people in there. Didn't know them, but they were friendly when we were waving and going through and everything. Knowing the assholes there are, as far as white people go in this town, there's an abundance, right? So, not wanting to be like all the rest of them, right? So, yeah, anyway, the movie thing, going back there, right? So Gracie had these 2 friends. The one girl lived right next door to her, but she had a friend that was mean to Gracie early on, so she was kind of mean to Gracie starting out, but then once that friend became mean to that girl, she stopped hanging out with that girl, and then that girl and Gracie got along really well, right? So then they bonded, and then they're having all these sleepovers and spending all sorts of time together because it's Gracie's getting ready to move, and they're trying to get in all the time they can. I think she still talks to them on occasion anyway. That's not the point. The point was, there was all sorts of drama and sadness when it came to the last leave, right? Because Gracie finally had friends, and then she's leaving them behind, right? And of course, my mom was there to say goodbye and everything, see us off when we were leaving and all that stuff. She's been on this kick to get a new couch, and she wants a sleeper sofa because she wants a bed available for them if they come to visit at the holidays, right? And she kept saying, your brother told Gracie that they'd come back for Christmas if she wanted to or something, and she kept saying, don't you remember that? And the last time, the first time I don't know, she's asked me 2 or 3 times. The last time was the time I really said something about it, and I said, no, but I remember you saying that they said that. I said, but I didn't hear it. So my brother and I were talking about something the other day, and I did finally say that, Mom keeps wanting me to tell you that she has a sleeper sofa, and so you guys have a place to stay in case you choose to come up here at any time. And he said that he doesn't know when that would be. He's said a few times that he might try to get back, I think, for the GP in May, whatever, but, not Christmas, Thanksgiving, not so much. That's not a priority, especially since Christmas last year was kind of a clusterfuck, so, and a whole lot of crumbling family things at that point. But I told him that she kept saying that, and I was just like, confirm this for me. I said, because I don't remember it. I said, but Mom keeps saying this, and don't you remember that? And I said, the last time I just said no, but I know you have said that multiple times. And he said, I didn't say that. But then, of course, because I had asked him, he wanted to make sure, so he asked Gracie, and she said, no, you didn't say that. And then, of course, she's like, well, are we? And he said, no. But still, it's just like that whole thing with, I'm pretty confident that didn't happen. But then I asked, and he was pretty confident that didn't happen. But then he got a little questioning about it, and then he asked her, and she said no. And then she asked if that had changed, and it's like, okay, no. It's like, good. Don't let that change. If you weren't planning on coming back, don't come back. But that is exactly the kind of, or the way that things ended up happening, right? So she would say the thing enough to one of us, and then when it came about to coerce the other one, we'd have heard it so much from her that it was more likely for us to think that maybe we had heard it, right? So that said, I pulled some cards last night. So the Kyle Gray Divine Masters Oracle. One of the ones that I pulled was talking about being more easily aware of who's acting from a place of best interest versus who's acting with an ulterior motive, kind of a thing. And so then I'm thinking through the stuff that's happened this week, and like that point, and it's like, that's kind of right there. Right? That's right on the things that I'm learning about and, starting to navigate through easier. Yeah. So another part of that whole situation was yesterday. So since my mom had posed it as, basically it was one of those veiled threats when she had said it the day before. I would appreciate it if you would schedule in some time to help, right, in the garage. It's like, that's still not asking. It's just a veiled threat, right? So you better get in line and help, right? Just plan to do it. Ahead of time, be available. But she still didn't ask. So yesterday, my aunt was all, okay, first off, I need to stop hanging out with my aunt too. And that was something I was thinking through last night a lot as I think about everything yesterday and earlier this week. She is my mom's in, and I don't need that. So, the day before yesterday, I took my aunt to her appointment because she thought my uncle had taken both copies of the key for her car to work with him. And apparently he had it in a jacket pocket that was at home, but she didn't know that at the time. So she had this appointment at 1 o'clock, and I was doing something at 12:30, but she asked me if there was any way that I would be able to take her to her appointment because he had both keys. All right, I can make that happen. I said, I was over at the storage unit. I said, I have the dogs with me. We were going to go on a walk, but we can do that after. So, we finished with the guy at the storage unit, and then came back and picked her up, and then went to her appointment, right? And she's all about, we had dogs in the car, so she was all about getting a pup cup, right? So, she's all set on, we should do this, we should do this, we should do this. Okay, you're fucking buying, I don't care. But like she's always the one that's wanting to go out and do things and whatnot. It's like, all right, I don't have a problem. So anyway, so we went and did that, and it's like she was pushing me to get actual food rather than ice cream. It's like, well, I had a muffin a couple hours ago, so I could kind of do real food. But then, she was thinking about getting real food instead, or instead of the ice cream as well. But then we're at the drive-through thing, the speaker, and talking to the people, and then she's like, oh, I should just take some ice cream or whatever. So she ordered this other thing instead, right? But I got like a chicken tender basket or whatever. And then she kept saying like, that smells really good, and it's like, I saved a couple pieces. I was like, here, have some. And because she was done with her ice cream at that point, and she takes the one and divvies it up between the dogs. It's like, I didn't say give it to the dogs. I said I saved that for you because you were talking about it smells good and all this stuff. So, she's like, oh no, I'm fine. It's like, well, if you don't want the other one, then I'll eat it because it's just the 4-piece. But well, the dogs shared one, and then I think I shared a little bit of the last one too, or had part of it too. But anyway, she was or I said we were going to go walking. Did she want to go? And Ziva does not like it when her dog goes along, because her dog, it goes back to that boundaries thing. Her dog hasn't been taught boundaries, right? Cesar Millan's always talking about rules, boundaries, and limitations. That dog's got none of those. And it's very difficult to bring the one pack that's never had any kind of training. And she went to puppy classes, but my aunt and uncle don't do really good with the puppy training stuff. So she's a sweet dog. She didn't get trained very well. She can do some things like sit and whatnot, but she's not going to choose to do the tricks when she could just beg and get your attention and, run over the top of everybody else, right? So when she comes in over to our house, nobody's really happy. Taz loves her for some reason. She and Taz are tight. But I think it's because she isn't afraid of him like she would. He's this 60-pound blue heeler, and she's this little, 16-pound corgi, and, no fear at all. She tries to get him to play, but, if they're going to have, a Frisbee or something, he's just going to jerk it real hard, and then she can't hold on to it. So, but he's the one that's most likely to play, so they really like each other, and, they're tight. Anyway, Ziva does not like it when she is around at all, because things get immensely more chaotic. But we went ahead and picked up the dog, and, we all went over to the cemetery and walked around just a shorter time. And my aunt said, we should do this again tomorrow. Because, it was upper 60s yesterday. Today's low 70s again, so that's happy. But she said we should walk again tomorrow. It's like, I walk every day if I can, if the weather's permitting enough and all that stuff. Or as long as nothing else gets in the way of it, right? That's the big thing. And so I got ready yesterday, and I hadn't heard anything from her. And there's a part of me that was like, yes, because, mine walk better when they aren't there to complicate it, right? So my aunt has this leash that one end goes around her waist, so she doesn't even have to hold onto the dog leash and all that stuff, so the dog can go wherever she wants. It's less than ideal. And, she acts like when the dog stops to sniff something, she'll just let her sniff as long as it takes. It's like, you're supposed to be the one making the rules, right? So, like, for mine, if they stop and sniff something, they can check it out for a minute, or, I mean, not for an actual minute, but for a few seconds, and then I'm going to say, leave it, and we're going to move on, right? We're not just going to stay at this thing for 5 minutes because this is an interesting smell. Plus, I got to watch that, because if I let them sniff too much and there's like a carcass involved, Ziva has been known to, I was walking them over here one day, and I realized it was like a mole carcass after she already had it in her mouth, and then I couldn't get it out of her mouth, and she like swallowed it as quick as she could. It's like, So we try to pay attention so shit like that doesn't happen, because it's not the first and only time she's done it. I think there was another time. I mean, obviously always the little rodents, but still, we don't need that either, especially when there's places around here that still poison mice, and we don't want the dogs getting into the poison, right? So anyway, I was ready, but I hadn't heard anything. I was like, fine. So I sent her a message, just because she had mentioned it the day before. I said, did you still want to walk? 10 minutes later, I didn't have a response. Got the dogs in the car, went back in the house to grab my water, I think, and the other dog, Piper's been going with us again. And she didn't immediately respond, but then when I got back in the car and was getting ready to leave, then she's responding. It's like, just, yeah, I'll go. Cool. Get ready, we'll be there. We're leaving now. And so we go and pick her up, right? And, everything was fine. We went over to the park yesterday instead, and walked a mile instead of the little, usually it's like just under 3/4 of a mile if we go to the cemetery, but I try to push for over a mile, and then it keeps me a little, if I have like a challenge or something I'm doing on my apps and whatnot, then, sorry, somebody sent me a message. Now I'm confused. I don't know, I just like having it right around a mile. So then, especially since some of them are skate times and some of them are walk times, because when I started out, I was only using the dog walking app for walking dogs, but then my dog walking app crapped out for a little bit, and it took a while before I was able to hear somebody to get it figured out. So I started using the other app for skating, for walking, which I had previously just used for skating. But once I started using it for walking, and, all the challenges they do is, some of them are like, just outside. Some of them, walking, running, hiking, biking. The one that pisses me off is like you versus the year or something. And it only accepts walking, running, hiking, and biking. It doesn't accept skating. And I don't know if that was the same one, that it was outside activities. It's like, well, I skate outside. Why doesn't that count? But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same one, because that one was pissing me off, because it's like, well, I'm doing all the skate time, but my skating time doesn't count. So, fuck it. Right? So that kind of irritated me. But anyway, we went the one to go further, and it was fine. But then we were on our way back home, and she decided she was going to come in and help with my parents and my aunt and uncle in the garage, right? Because my aunt and uncle volunteered to be there and help, so they came in, blah, blah, blah. I was kind of annoyed that she didn't take her dog home first. She's like, oh, she can play in the backyard with your dogs. It's like, she's not going to. It's like, my dogs don't go out there unless I'm out there, or like, they'll go out there if they have to potty, or if they hear something and want to, you know, like if they see a truck going down and, you know, want to go yell at it outside, they'll do that kind of stuff. But otherwise, like, if I'm inside or doing something else, they want to be where I'm at. And, you know, if nobody's outside to play, I mean, they're not gonna, what's she gonna do out there, right? So, anyway, she wasn't there for a real long time. She finally took her dog home and stayed there for a little bit. But at one point, my mom comes in, and she gets all bubbly and standing there in the doorway and says, "You should come help us." And I said, "Rather not." You know, to which she immediately throws out there all these things that she does for me. Right? It's like, this is what I hate. This is very much that emotional manipulation piece. This is the thing that's always been happening, except for now I'm able to see it because I'm not stuck in the middle of all the drama all the time. Because I've done some healing and distancing myself from their bullshit, right? So, I did say, we got into it, right? She said, you know, she points out all the things that they've paid for me and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, so stop. You know, so, okay, let's go with the phone piece, because this is one that really annoyed me. When I was getting divorced, I got added back to their plan. And it was a pain in the ass because my ex would not give the privileges or the permission to take the phone or that phone number off of his plan, or off of his account, right? He was fucking with me. He had it set so the 4 family members of mine whose phone numbers he had, he blocked those numbers so they couldn't send me texts or anything. I couldn't receive phone calls from him because he put the parental controls on there. And, you know, one day he renames my phone bitch, all these fun things. Rather than just releasing the number, we have to jump through all this bullshit to try to make it happen. But he wasn't going to make it easier on us. However, since he did rename my phone bitch in capital letters, we were able to use that as, you know, this is an abusive relationship. Can we please get this number off? And they were able to work it from that end. Right, so we finally I get off of that plan. You know, my parents add me to theirs. But then, even though we had we took the phone in and had somebody fix it to take the parental controls off, somewhere along the line, it was like it reverted back after there was some kind of update or something, and it reverted back to the settings that he had put on it. And it was irritating, right? So there was a deal going on where it was like buy one, get one for $1 or something if you got a new line. And I needed a new phone since mine kept reverting, or mine was reverting back to the bullshit he put on it. So I talked to my mom one day. I was like, okay, I said, they're having this deal, you know, and she was due for a new phone, I think. I said, with this, as long as you get a new line. And she said, well, I don't want a new line. I said, I am okay with the new line. I said, I have no attachments to that number, right? I can tell the people that I want to have that number from the old one. I can tell them the new number, and they can come with me or not contact me again. I'm okay with this. There's nobody that I talk to enough that it's a problem. So I went ahead and did that. But, okay, so I think this is a Samsung Galaxy 23. I don't know if we've only gotten one phone. I don't know. At one point, me and my parents all had the same exact phone till the whole Mom got her phone stolen because she dropped it at the UPS, and she automatically assumes the worst about everything. So somebody leaned into their shadow aspects and ended up, getting a new phone. And she had to buy a new one, right? So other than that, we all had the same phones for a while. I didn't want a fancy one. I was like, I don't care. I just need something that I can, text and call if necessary and take pictures. Those are like the big things that I do. Now, obviously, now I'm glad that I have this one and can do my YouTube stuff on it. But, it's videos and then I just put them on my computer. So that's, still mostly my computer involved in that process. But she wanted one of the newer ones, and she was like, oh, we can get you this one. We can get you this one. It's like, I don't have a stellar income and I got other shit going on right now. And she's like, oh, it's fine, right? So, fine. But this is that thing. It's like, they wanted to get me the nicer one out of the goodness of their heart, right? No, they wanted to get it so they can use it to hold it over my head because it's more phone than I needed. And honestly, I didn't want that much on it. It's like, I still have a computer. Like, if there was anything like social media, I could be do that stuff on my computer would probably be better because then I wouldn't ever get stuck in the doom scrolling thing because I wouldn't just have it on my phone. But no, we had to get the nice one. We had to have all these things, but it's for the specific purpose of holding it over my head, which is why I've always had a problem with the things, which is why we're getting ready to go into Christmas season. I really fucking hate it already. Right? It's like, and that goes back to what I discovered the past couple years, because if she gets me something and I like it, it's because she knows me so well, right? She's patting herself on the back. If she gets me something and I don't like it, it's because I'm an ungrateful bitch. There's no winning here. Right? So, yeah. Anyway. Wandered that path. Was talking about my brother. Oh, yeah. So anyway, the garage, right? I kind of let that conversation just go for about 15 minutes and she left pissed. Oh, because I did say that. The thing about the student loan. She was like, I've paid several $100s on your student loans. And I was like, those are also your student loans. I said, I didn't have the option to do anything other than go to college right after high school. I said it was your regret that you hadn't, and you said that I had to because it was your regret and you didn't want me having that regret. So you made me go. I said, so that's just as much your loan as it is mine, and I have paid several $1,000s on that, thank you. To which she couldn't argue, but she got pissed. She's like, well, what would you have done instead? It's like, I don't know. I didn't know anything about myself back then, but it would have been nice to have some options to figure out for myself. And she just stormed off. So, after she leaves, I'm sitting there for about 15 minutes. And of course, it is in my nature to want to help. And it drives me nuts when I'm around people that, are all about taking advantage of what I'm willing to help with and not make it worth my while or whatnot. So I got to thinking about it. It's like, if they're going through a bunch of shit, I do want to know if I have anything else out there that needs to go over to the storage unit. Right? Or, if I need to grab anything, get it out of the way and put it in the storage unit because it's something I'm going to sell. Like, I took a file cabinet that I pulled out of one spot. And it's like, hey, this can go there. Right? I can sell this. It's got keys in it even. So, hey, happy day. So, I did go out there and participate because I wanted to see if I had anything out there. Like, I know I have a bunch of paint and stuff out there. My paint's not going to the storage unit because, at least the garage is attached to the house. So since we're moving into winter, I don't want it to like freeze, or I don't know if it would get that cold in the storage unit, because mine's like smack in the middle. But I don't want to take any chances on the paint getting messed up, even though some of it's like 10 years old or better anyway, so it's just projects. And if it ends up being junk, then I can throw it out, because that's fine. But I don't want to mess it up by putting it there when it's not ready to go out there. I don't want my like spray paint to freeze or whatever. Is that an issue even? I don't know, but I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to be the one that causes problems at the storage unit even. So not trying to do that, right? So the paint is staying there until I get moved, or I get to where I'm getting ready to move. So I did go out and participate, and it went like you would expect. First off, I went out there, and I think I grabbed something and asked her what she wanted to do with it. And at first she was trying to go with the silent treatment until she realized that I was doing what she wanted. And then she did respond. And then she was like almost giddy because, she got her way. Excuse me. As soon as I got out there, my dad quit. I went, sat in on the couch, and just spent the rest of the time looking at his videos and whatnot. That was all he wanted, right? It was me to participate so he didn't have to do anything ever again. Right? And his coercion of his brother and sister by, nudging them in their good natures was specifically for that point. Because I wasn't doing what I was raised to do. And, he's just so feeble and can't do anything. So he quit, right? First off. And it's like, Mom was trying to do the silent treatment until she realized I was out there, and she was kind of getting her way. So then she was like all giddy, and then, then he leaves. And my mom's sister that had wanted to go get involved in everything, and then ended up going back home, well, she slacked off. But she's the one that will occasionally be like, we should get your mom going on in the garage or whatever. It's a nice day. It's like, I don't want to do that every single day just because it's a nice fucking day. But anyway, my uncle had to leave at like 3, so, and he and my aunt drove over there together, so they went ahead and left, right? And my mom's sister came back with her husband a little bit later. And I'm pretty sure the sole purpose they were there was to make sure that we continued working, because they didn't really participate a whole lot. I got sidetracked with the fridge because I went to grab something out of there, and there's like this big sticky nasty mess in there, and it's like, and of course that's what it was. I had a case of Powerade that I was going to put in there so I could get it cold, so when I'm skating I can grab one of those to take with me. And then it's like real sticky and nasty, so I ended up cleaning it, right? So there again, something else she didn't have to do, and I just did it. And of course, it goes back to that point of I really loathe knowing that as far as she's concerned, she's taking advantage of my good nature. As far as I'm concerned, I'm using that fridge space too, so yeah, I should participate in cleaning it periodically, but she's gloating because she's getting her way, right? The whole thing was just really exhausting, and I, by the time evening came around, I was thinking about coming over here and skating yesterday night, or evening, and by that time, my aunt's like, oh, should we order pizza? And then, of course, my mom's all about, oh, let's order pizza, right? So they order pizza and then all that fun stuff. So, yeah. My aunt wanted to go with me to pick up the pizza. Just to have company. What I realized as we were sitting in the car, and I've spent time with her the past few days, it's like every time she is around, I don't like who I become. Because I shift back into that venting about everything with my family and whatnot. It's like, this is another person in here, but it's like, I can block my parents out and it's not a problem. But since she's coming around, and then I have these moments where I get pissed about something with my parents and then I'm venting, then it's like, she is able to carry that energy back and, essentially, it's the narcissistic supply inside of my cheek continuing, right? It's my mom's getting the access to my energy through the fact that I've had this conversation with my aunt. So when we were on the way to pick up the pizza, I got pissed off because I couldn't figure out what's going on with the radio. My dad messed up the settings. So now you can't there's not 3 pages of settings anymore, the presets. So, because before, okay, we each have a preset, right? A page of the 6. And normally, I get in there, hit the button, go to whatever I want on my page, and then, I might change it back when I am done. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I just don't care. Because usually when I get in there and it's Willie's fucking Roadhouse, then that's gotta go. Right? But something happened with the settings, and I could not get to the page. So it's like you could type in the number that you wanted, or you could just scroll. And it was, hitting the button for next station. And it was irritating. So, and of course, since I'm with my aunt, my go-to is always like Octane or whatever. It's going to be something harder, especially if I got to spend time with my family. I actually watched this video the other day. It was a neurologist. I think it was on Facebook, and I can't think of the page. No. What is it? It might be gnarly something. And it's just like, I don't know. She's like a neurologist, and she just has a bunch of different interesting little things. And that one, she was talking about, essentially the type of people that listen to metal music, right? But one of the things that she was talking about was it's not that, people are bad that listen to this music. It's stress relieving, right? So, right. So like my go-to, especially when I'm around, have to do anything with my family, that's why I listen to metal a lot when I'm skating, is to get my family out of my system too, right? And it's just, it's more comforting because like, hey, there are more people like me out in the world and I like this, right? But, my family who demonizes everything that I do, anyway. But the fact that I got agitated over the radio and then my aunt's sitting there and, I'm pissed off at my family and venting. It's like there was this energy about my aunt where she was like doing her job, right? Because I was agitated about something and she's able to report back to my mom. So my mom can feel pleased that I was aggravated at something that happened, right? By the time all that was said and done, we got back home with the pizza. Order ended up being wrong. Donato's was crazy busy and having issues. So, one of the pizzas that we got was not the right one. And then there were supposed to be 2 orders of the cinnamon bread stuff, and we only got 1. Although the lady said there were 2 orders in this box. And it's like, all right, like she even walked through and was like, split, right? It's 2. But, I mean, I don't know if my mom's right or if the lady was right. Because there was 8 sticks in the box, and my mom's like, that's 1 order. It's like, well, the lady said it was 2, so I don't know what. But the breadsticks, they put all of them in 1 box, and there were a lot of them, but yeah. But then one of the pizzas was not what it was supposed to be. And it was just cheese, and that is disappointing when you expect, your pepperoni or your sausage or whatever, and you open it up and it's cheese. Right? So, yeah. But, I stay in there. Okay, my mom cleared off enough of the table that 4 people could sit there. So there again, because my dad's on the one side on the bench, my uncle sits at the end of the table, and then my mom and my aunt sit in the other 2 seats. My mom's like, well, hold on, I'll clear off another spot. It's like, don't worry about it. Right, so I did what I usually do at this point, which is not eat with them. I would either take the food to my office, or, since my aunt and uncle were there, I stayed in the room, but I leaned against, the kitchen sink. So that's my space there when there's other people around. So I eat my food, and then I go sit down and I start trying to write, and I'm just so aggravated about everything because, of course, Mom got her way. I did what she wanted, and I'm not getting any kind of payment or anything for it, but I participated because I wanted to see if I had anything else out there that I wanted to put in the storage unit. So it's like, so there was these things, and I was just really aggravated, and then I started journaling. It's like, I am too aggravated to journal right now. And so I went and decided to take a bath. And the first thing I did was go all the way hot with the water. There's a moment where it feels kind of scalding. But when we had to get a new water heater, my dad has it set to I think it can only go to 140 degrees. So my water goes cold real quick. Their water, for some reason, their bathroom is on the other side of the wall from my bathroom, but my bathroom's at the center of the house. So I don't know what the deal is, but my water doesn't get as hot as theirs does. And I'm not trying to go into that space because I've talked about that nastiness plenty of times before. So, just with my dad peeing on everything and whatnot. So, yeah. So I turn the water all the way up, throw the rose salt in there and some of the bubble bath. And I started with, my Begone Satan music. And I had that playing for a little bit, and it's like, okay, now that's enough of that. I need something else. I need to relax. So that one, helps with the anger. It's that, Rotting Christ, Apage Satana, that I talk about on here a lot because I love that fucking song. And it's really good at agitating my parents when I'm listening to it. I don't even have, I can be listening to it with the headphones, but it feels like there's just this boundary that it sets around me that they can't stand. And it really aggravates their demons. So, yes. So we like that one a lot. But anyway, so I listened to that for a little while, and then I was like, okay, I gotta have something to calm my ass back down. So I found this, there's a Clara Sophia Align with Love meditation thing. And so I had that on, and that plays for an hour. So I, at one point I was debating on getting out of the tub because the water was really hot, and which was intentional. But I got to a point where I finally ended up staying in, but running cold water. Not super cold, but a little cooler, just kind of bring me back down. It's like I had to scald some of that icky energy out of my system, and then, then kind of cool it down. And then after I sat in the cooler water for a while, and it's like, okay, now I need more warm water. So I turned went back to the hot water, which of course, since I put some of the cooler water in there, it was not near as hot as it had been when I started. I think that was mainly like when you can feel your heartbeat in your ears and it's like, okay, we got to back it down some, right? But I think I was in the tub for like an hour and a half. And at one point there were 2 times I was thinking about getting out, and then I added the cooler water and it's like, no, and then I'm staying this way, and then the next time I stood up and it's like, I thought about it and it's like, no, I just need to add more salt, which I had salt close, so I added a bunch more, added a little more bubble bath, and then went back to the hot water, and I just stayed there, and listened to the rest of that meditation thing, and it helped immensely. But then I got out and got to spend some time writing, because then I was ready to, I think I did my cards first, and then I did write a little bit. Some of it was I wanted to write down what I got on the cards, because they were hella relevant with everything for the past couple days. So I did that. And then when I was ready to just write, I got the dogs all ready for bed, and we went in there, and then I just spent some time writing. Excuse me. And then it was much more coherent, and I was much more laid back and back to how I like to be, my preferred go-to energy space, rather than my parents have me agitated and I can't get it out of my system kind of a thing. I had thought about coming over here at about this time last night, which, it's not, the sun's already down, it's just not completely dark yet. But like this parking lot was lit up, so when we drove past it, it's like I could go skate. It's like, yeah, I don't want to. It's like, I'm just going to take a bath and try to scald it out of my system, and it worked. So there was that. But yeah, just that whole thing yesterday was just really aggravating. And then to just really getting that sense of being reminded that everything I've been piecing together with the shit with my family, it's like, nope, this is actually legitimately true. They are really this sketchy. They are really trying to drag me down into their chaos and keep me there however they possibly can. And it's getting more and more difficult for them to be able to pull me back to that negative space, because I don't exist there anymore, right? That's not where I want to be. It doesn't make me happy to be there, right? So I don't want to go there. So I'm getting a lot better about being able to resist it and choose things to do that are put me in a much happier mood. Of course I did wrap up with my harmony healing meditation before I went to sleep. But yeah, it's like just that whole thing was aggravating. And when I came over here tonight to do this video, I didn't know what was going on over there when I got the dogs already, and then, I went to walk them. When I went to take them out of the house, because after I took a shower and got all put together, because I knew I was going to do this, I took some time and then went and got ready to walk the dogs. And we came back over here and walked. Well, when we went to leave, my mom was working in the garage again. And I didn't say anything about it. And my dad was standing at one point. He was standing out in where the door closes, just standing in the middle of the walkway. He is the most obnoxious person I know at this point. And now, of course, he's had all these strokes. He is exactly what he always intended on being in his older years. Completely useless as much as possible, because he feels it's other people's duty to take care of him. And extremely hateful and misogynistic and all those things, right? So it's just like, I'm done. And that was one thing I did tell my aunt last night. I said, I decided back in April, before the strokes, I said, we got into it about something, and I said at that time, he was dead to me. I did not say it to him, but I had this conversation in my head, and it was like, you're dead to me, old man. No, I'm not doing this anymore. So it's not changed. I've talked about it on here a few times. Yesterday was the first time I said anything to my aunt about that. It's kind of irrelevant one way or another, but whatever. So, yeah, so we get back. I'm walking the dogs, 4 dogs, into the garage, and my dad's just standing there, barefoot. It's like, why? He literally, every single time I'm getting ready to go somewhere, it's like he stops to be the barricade in the walkway. At this point in time, we can at least go through the garage now. Or not the garage, the laundry room when he's blocking the path to the kitchen. But there was a time where we couldn't do that, right? Or if I'm going to go over to, to get a cup or something out of the cabinet, he stops behind my mom's chair. So there's no space. It's like, if you move, I could go through. Right? But we have to stop and just stand there like, it's like, So it was just like that, except for trying to keep the dogs on one side of him so we don't take him out too, because he goes down. I'm calling the fucking ambulance. I'm not picking him up. I will not. But yeah, so they were both out in the garage. And so I took the dogs in, got them off their leashes, threw some food on the floor, went back to... I got my earrings. I forgot I was going to bring them along and show them off, and then I forgot them. My deviled eggs have arrived. So whether I remember to show them tomorrow, or if you just don't get the video until the video I do where I'll probably be wearing them because it's Thanksgiving and I did the thing to cooperate with the family. Either way, you'll see them at some point. And I'm sure I'll wear them again because I'm sure they're cute. But like, I opened the package and set them down on my desk, and it's like I have to pee first. So then I went to the bathroom, and then I forgot to go back and check them out. It's like, well, is what it is. So I went ahead and, I fed the dogs, went to the bathroom, all that stuff, and then I just got my stuff and came back out to the car and left. And I'm sure they expected that I should do something. I participated yesterday. That's it. Enjoy it. You got free labor. Yeah, anyway. Going back to that whole legacy point, though. It's like, this space blows. Right? So, like, just thinking about that piece, it's like, what good did my grandfather offer the world at all? He didn't do jack shit. He tried to keep the illusion of the big happy family, which was never the case, right? So it's like, fuck all of that, right? So, so then when I'm starting to make these connections, and that goes back to that that little scenario where I see myself just going through and shaking these friends' hands and saying, congratulations on your penis. Like, the point of it, I think, was just to bring it back to, that's literally the world that I have lived in, is that people feel like they deserve something special just because they were born with a dick. Congratulations. Is that all you have to offer the world? Because if that's all you got to offer, nobody cares. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up because we're pushing an hour and a half again. And yeah, I'm going to go find food. So, as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.